David, what is the law of probability?
The law of probability says if you keep taking shots, you're going to make a basket.
In this episode, you're going to see exactly how this guy used the law of probability to grow his wholesaling business. My name is Ryan Haywood. Back in 2019, I started a 30-day wholesaling challenge. I got my first deal done in under 2 weeks, and I've gone on to do over 425 deals.
And I'm David Lecko. I've helped people close 10,000 deals in all 50 states with the software called DealMachine. And we're getting ready to do a challenge, actually. And the homework for getting your first deal is make 30 calls per day for 3 weeks. Now, that would take you about an hour per day. And if you believe in the law of probability and you can add some extra time, I'd highly recommend doing even more than that, because the more you can put in, the faster you're going to get a deal. If you can do 6 hours per day, you're going to get a deal 6 times faster. So something to think about when you're listening to this episode. And if you want to join the challenge, the website is DealMachine.com/dialer-challenge. Tell me, Raji, how much did you make on your first real estate wholesale deal?
My first real estate wholesale deal, I made $7,500.
Okay, that's pretty good. How'd you do it in terms of finding the actual person who wanted to sell?
We basically tried and failed for like 10 months. And just as we're about to give up or like kind of just doubting ourselves, we found failed listings that had failed 2 years prior. And the lady had zero hopes on the MLS and zero hopes on a buyer actually coming through. So she saw us as a lightning of opportunity. And she worked with us. We had her hire the typical spiel. We had to lower the price because, that they need repairs. And we were able to find a buyer quite quickly because it was a good deal.
How'd you find the expired listing that was from 2 years ago?
PropStream, the usual.
Whoa.
Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry. That was my first wholesale deal, right? So it's been a long time. It's been 6 years since then. Now I use a variety of different softwares. A lot of it is DealMachine. But, when we first started out, we did start with PropStream.
That's good. You should be transparent. I just always like to poke fun when somebody says that. It's no problem. I'd want you to tell the truth. And I don't even think we had that 6 years ago. We've come a long way. It used to be driving for dollars, but now we do a lot of stuff. A lot of people come to us for data, but this is more about you, Raji. So back then, 6 years ago, what was your life like? I'm sure you were pretty stressed having looked for a deal for 10 months and, anything else?
Yeah, basically, I had an e-commerce business. I wasn't doing amazing. It was doing barely 6 figures. I lived a pretty comfortable life. As you guys know, San Diego is one of the most expensive cities in the United States. So I wasn't living lavishly. I had some money saved up. I didn't like what I was doing. So I quit. I told my wife, I have some savings. Let's go all out in real estate. And we started doing real estate. And then next thing you know, the bank account's going like this. And my wife's like, okay, you got it. And then little by little, and we keep them pushing. That's back in the SMS was like the golden standard, and everybody was doing it. So I was just massive action. But dumb me, I wasn't doing follow-ups. So I was just like, hey, you want to sell your house? And then and just kind of waiting for something to pop up. And little by little, you learn from your mistakes and you take it from there.
Got it. Okay. So I like that you're entrepreneurial. You already had tried a business with the e-commerce stuff, right? But it was a little more difficult than you thought. And to be fair, I think a lot of people think wholesaling will be really easy, but they also take 10 months if they even make it that far. And then people just quit, right? So I love that you didn't quit. I love that you went ahead and you stuck with it. But do you think it's as hard as e-commerce? How would you compare the two?
You just have to learn, right? I feel like any business, you can't just come in and make money off the get-go. You're either going to pay for a $20,000 course that might get you there, or you're going to have to trial and error until you finally get there. So I don't think there's one business on earth that can get you money right away. And if that's so, please tell me, because I don't know it.
Yeah. Well, now that you've had your first deal, what advice would you give to somebody who is looking for that first one and is feeling a bit discouraged?
I feel like follow-up is huge. We've come a long way since 2018. We checked our numbers. It was a little bit under 400 deals that we have assigned. We have a turnkey company. We work with contractors, property managers. We get deals, we fix them up, we sell them to out-of-state investors, mostly New York, California. We do some out-of-state, out-of-country buyers. So we have a whole model that works, but basically getting a CRM and the whole spiel of like, oh no, just go on Google Sheets until you can afford to pay $20. No, that's nonsense. Like if you're gonna go on something, might as well spend, the 100, $200 is the bare minimum to start something. But the follow-up is nobody's willing and lovingly gonna sell you their house at 50% off. Like nobody's gonna say, here, please, like tell me if you have to be like there, like, hey, until they finally familiarize themselves with you, and then they can trust you.
Right. A lot of sales literature would always say it takes 13 touch points before you do a deal. So this is no different, and that's helpful to come in. So I noticed you said you're a turnkey company, which is a little bit different than wholesaling. So it sounds like you guys also buy the property, fix it up, and sell it to out-of-state investors. You started wholesaling, right?
Sorry. Yes, we do a little bit of both. We started wholesaling, but I mean, not to talk bad about anybody, but the local flippers, they're gonna squeeze you. They're gonna squeeze you, and they're gonna make sure to get 40% of ARV, 35% of ARV. So I'm looking at houses that are worth $200,000 that I'm selling for like $50,000, and I'm like, you know what I'm saying? It's tough. So when the interest rates went up about 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, we were finding ourselves, our business got cut in half overnight. So I'm like, I mean, the deals are good. The ARV, the discount of ARV is good. Like, what can we do? And instead of focusing on our marketing, because we already have that down with a variety of different softwares, we started focusing on our buyers instead of our sellers, our clients, so to speak. They can pay a little bit more premium, but we can do a little bit more legwork.
Got it. So how do you decide now? Obviously, it takes more cash to be able to buy it and fix it up. So maybe you built up your cash wholesaling, then you started adding that second strategy. Is that how that worked?
And not quite. We don't buy it. We wholesale it with their funds. And the first month, even with their funds, I sell it to you at 60 grand. I'm making 20 grand. Out of the 20 grand, I'm going to make 10 grand for myself, 10 grand for the repairs. First month, we're going to repair it. Second month, we're going to put a tenant in there. Third month, property manager usually takes 50 to 70% of the first month's rent. And then after that, they're going to cash flow onward. So my client is aware and understands that the process takes 3 to 4 months, but after that, they're going to be able to. So that allows me to scale, way past anything.
Yeah, I gotcha. So that's really, really nice, because then you don't have to have the cash influx. You wholesale it to them. Then you have a construction company that fixes it for them. So you're helping them out with the property management too, it sounds like. So that's cool. So how do you decide today what's a better deal to wholesale versus do the turnkey? I guess it just depends on what the highest bidder wants, right? What they actually want done.
So I'm doing 3 things. If the property is destroyed and needs a lot of work, I'm going to go wholesale it, because I don't like to go on the turnkey route if a rehab requires more than $25,000, because then you open up Pandora box, right? You don't know if when they say 60,000, it can be 100,000, but when they say 20,000, it's usually because the kitchen is old and like you're doing cosmetic, right? So I don't want to open up a box or a shell or a house and do a full job, because 1, it has delays, and 2, if I sell you a property at $60,000, I'm gonna sell it to you at $60,000. I'm not gonna say, hey, Mr. Smith, I messed up. It's going to need $30,000. I'm going to eat it. And I'm going to be happy about it, because my reputation is above anything. So long story short, if the property needs a lot of work, I'm going to regular wholesale it. If the property can cash flow and has a little bit of equity for my end buyer and is not in like the war zone, I'm going to turnkey it. And if the property is in a really good place, but it doesn't cash flow, for example, a $300,000 house, they want 220, it's not going to cash flow above a 10% yearly, what I'm expecting after all expenses, NOI, I'm going to novate it. So we go novation, we go regular wholesale, or we go turnkey. That's what we do nationwide.
Okay, got it. Very, very cool. So Raji, how'd you find all these people that want to buy these homes like that? I mean, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I have cold SMTP. We do cold email outreach. We do Facebook ads. We do Google ads. We're talking to basically, there's 2 people, right? The New Yorker, the Californian, who want more cash flow. They don't want a negative cash flow, or they don't want to make it 2 or 3%. Or we're looking at the Colombian or Venezuelan or Peruvian who their country is a little bit unsafe and they're looking to allocate their funds towards a safer economy, which is the American economy.
Got it. Hey guys, if you know you want to quit your job in the next 3 months, make sure you're subscribed to this podcast because we've got some incredible frameworks with step-by-step instruction that you're not going to want to miss. Also, leave us a rating and review to let us know your favorite parts and why you want to get financial freedom. Wow, that's really
How did
interesting.
you come across these people though? Because these are not typical buyers. You know, they're not local investors. They're just that is such an odd buyer pool. How did you come across these?
I mean, we offer above a 10% NOI, at least a 20% discount, and not war zones. So anybody who has money, or it's usually between people that are making $200,000 a year to $2 million a year, is our niche buyer. And there's softwares like Apollo and like different softwares that allow you to do massive outreach. The same kind of concept as basically what we do to buy houses is law probabilities. Like you're gonna shoot a bunch of stuff, filter out a couple of them, have a good closer, and that's kind of how we go about it.
So I have a question. People have responded to my Instagram posts from other countries and they're like, how do you do this? So what's the rule for buying a property out of country, you know?
So we work, sorry to cut you off. We work with attorneys from Wyoming. It's got a little bit more complicated this past year with the anti-can spam. There's this particular thing that just changed the rules last year. You can ask your CPA. It's been like a little bit hectic, but basically it's been a little bit more difficult, but it's simple. All they have to do is register their Wyoming LLC. My attorneys will give them an EIN. They'll give them an American bank account, and they will allow them to basically buy. And then after that, EIN, and then you have shareholders agreement, and that's basically all you need. You know, if you're buying cash. Okay. Now, if you're financing, I'm not even going to take you as a client. It's not worth the headache.
Yeah. So any type of person in any country can form a U.S. business based in Wyoming?
Not North Korea, not Iran, not not enemies, or not friends of the United States.
Countries.
But 95% countries, yeah, they can.
Huh.
And it's not hard.
It's
just 4 to 6 months.
Yeah, so I actually formed DealMachine in Wyoming, even though I've never been there, because it does have very good preferential laws for businesses. So that's just a little tidbit. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. Well, that was pretty much the answer to my question on the foreign side. And you only do cash because financing, if you don't live in the United States, is going to be difficult, it sounds like.
Anyway, my bread and butter for this turnkeys, right? It's to follow the 2% rule. Because we're taking out 15% for a rainy day. We're taking out property manager. We're taking out a bunch of different stuff. So I'm looking to net my buyers above a 10%. And that just does not happen unless it's a 2% rule or a 1.8% rule. So that cannot happen if the property is above $150,000, because that would need to have a rent of like $2,800. And that's just kind of difficult. So our bread and butters are like 70 grand, 60 grand, 80 grand, 90 grand. That are renting up for $1,400, $1,500, that kind of thing.
Got it. So yeah, the 2% rule, if it's $100,000 property, you need to rent for $2,000 a month, which is 2% of the purchase price per month. For those listening, you said NOI, which stands for net operating income as well. No, it's good. So it's basically just the income minus the mortgage taxes and your estimated expenses and management fee would be the NOI, right? And so you're saying that's 10%.
At least, yeah. We don't sell anything below a 10%. Yeah.
So that means if they invested $100,000, they would net $10,000 per year on that investment.
Yep.
Nice. Yeah, those are great, very good discipline to be following, and very impressive that you do that. Where are most of those deals again?
I know that we are working on more. What do you call it? Taboo markets, like Flint, for example. Now. There's a bad kind of like rep, but if you actually dive in and do a search, you're gonna find out that Flint has actually fixed their lead problem at a 70%, but that information has not been propagated through the regular person. So you still get a sales rack item at the store, but it's it's a good brand. So Flint, Saginaw, Jackson, Mississippi, Mobile, Alabama. We don't like to work Detroit because it's just crazy. But the outskirts of Detroit work. Pittsburgh, we do a lot of deals. Memphis and West Memphis. West Memphis, we kill it in West Memphis.
Got it. So back to the wholesaling. How do you find most of these deals? I know you said they find the buyers through you get a list somewhere. You didn't say where. Then you email them. Do you build the list with the ads you run, or are you getting the list from somewhere else?
So 30% of my business comes PPC, Facebook, yada, yada, yada.
Okay, so people looking to invest.
That's 30%.
And they click on your PPC and that goes to a web page.
But that's not my bread and butter because then I'm competing with Brent Daniels and David Lecco and a bunch of big guys in the industry. And I don't want to do that because I'd rather not. So what I'm doing is I actually own my 2 offices, one in Pakistan, in the country of Pakistan, and one office in Morocco, my offices. And I have 15 guys in one office and 9 guys in the other office. And we're cold calling a lot. We're cold calling. We're doing a lot of cold emails. And that's basically it. That's our bread and butter. Then we kind of have them fill out a paragraph or a qualifying paragraph like name, address, bedrooms, their price they're asking for, yada, yada, yada. Once it's a qualified paragraph, they kind of get a little point on their point system, like for me to, kind of analyze my KPIs and see how they're doing. And then it gets filtered to a closer. The closer calls them and it keeps calling them until we find something. So my closer keeps getting leads every single day. My sales guys keep pounding phones and try to fill out paragraphs. And that's kind of how I go about it.
Okay. Got it. Very good. So so that's how you find your buyers. On your sellers, you also doing cold calling? Because I obviously pulled you into this call because you made a lot of calls in the last 2 weeks on the DealMachine dialer.
Yeah, so we just started. It's been good. It's been really good. We want to amp it up a little bit, so you'll see me add up a couple more accounts here in the next couple weeks. This is how I find my sellers, and then in terms of my clients, I don't do too much because I can't promise the moon and the earth and the sun, and unfortunately or fortunately, I can only sell, and I'm only selling between 6 turnkey deals to 11 turnkey deals a month because it needs to fit this criteria. So I actually have more clients than I can actually provide them houses. So I'm not doing volume with that. It's kind of one of the things that like, okay, we're amping up our volume. Let's open up that client acquisition, marketing campaign. But it's not my cup of tea because I don't have enough. I wish I had more deals. So I just don't have more deals in the turnkey aspect alone.
Okay, got it. Interesting. Well, it does make sense. You can only find 6 or 8 deals per month because those are, again, like pretty strict requirements for finding a deal like that. So
that's just for turnkey. We also novate and we also regular, and we're doing 5, 6 regulars and then innovations. They vary by between 3 to 4. So we're doing a decent amount of volume, a little bit scattered all over the place, but it works out for us.
Are you doing anything special on the phones, or are you just kind of having a conversation and just seeing if they want an offer?
Basically, what I always go by is the law of probabilities. So I always say, even if you're the worst shooter in basketball history, they give you 100 balls and you're going to make 1. So the more volume we do by law of probabilities, we're about to catch some deals. So I get a bunch of guys. Like I said, I have an office in Pakistan, an office in Morocco. You can only imagine having 24 people just in sales alone every single day pounding phones. That filters for sure some deals. We go through over 100,000 leads every single month for us to be able to close the 15 or 14 that we do between all our 3 exit strategies.
Okay, got it. Ryan, you looked like you had a question.
I don't know. I think I was just into what you were saying.
Well, of course, because the story sounds like yours, bro. You got about 400 deals under y'all.
Sounds very similar. We have a very similar business model. I like the idea of law of probability. We always struggle with the language barrier on having cold callers outside of the Midwest. If you're operating on law of probability, it doesn't really matter because like you said, you're going to get one. Do you get kickback with sellers that
I do get kickback, but I have manager, like employee, but he's a small equity partner in my company because he manages basically my whole Pakistan branch. We are very strict with who we hire. So he finds his way. He does a marketing. Everybody wants jobs. They start looking for us. Before we even interview them, we ask for a 1 minute audio. That 1 minute audio, if my guy gets 100 audios, he'll filter the 10 best ones of like either talk about your prior work experience or about your hobbies, which want to get their English. Then the 10 go to me. We grab 3 or 4, we interview them, and then one by one, we found the pillars in our company with great English. You'd be surprised how little accent and fluency you can actually get when you have the right tools in place for 10 times cheaper than United States.
Raji, is there any place people could find you on social media?
So my name, Raji Hamida, at Raji Hamida is my basically my handle. And you can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, and LinkedIn, basically.
Okay.
And my company is HMDH Enterprises. So you can reach us info@hmdhenterprises.com.
Got it. Thank you so much, man.
Thank
I really
you guys.
appreciate
I
your
appreciate
time.
you guys.
Yes, looking forward to further success with you on the dialer, because I know you've only been on that for 3 weeks now. So I look forward to catching up soon.
Yes, sir. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.